Hi again, everybody. I'm Jamie Allison, and this is the Big Idea, Big Moves podcast. This is the destination for high performers. We find out a little bit about inspiring stories, people just doing interesting things in their space. So we talk to lots of CEOs, entrepreneurs, and lots of athletes, and just people, again, doing really interesting things in their space, find out a bit about their journey, what they're doing, and see if we can apply them into our own lives as well. I know I have one of those people we're going to talk to today. Just before we jump into that, if you've been listening to the podcast for a while, you know that we are sponsored by Thirdsy, and Thirdsy creates natural products that help athletes and high performers, just entrepreneurs, people doing tough things, and get better quality rest and recovery from physical and mental stress. So they have a PM recovery collagen. It's melatonin free, it's sedative free, and it helps you get quality rest. And at the same time, supports joint and muscle recovery as well. If you are interested in taking a look at it, you can go right to thirdsy.com, or you can go into our Instagram profile and use the code BIBM20, and you can save 20% on their products as well. So take a look at it, see if it's something that you're interested in, and hopefully you'll find it helpful. So today, really happy that joining us is Taylor Dayne Loyd. She's a celebrated personal trainer, has been a CrossFit athlete, and is a successful entrepreneur in her own right as well, through her own both in-person and remote coaching programs. She excels at helping others achieve their personal fitness goals through tailored strength and conditioning programs. So we were talking just before we came in here, Taylor, about you had lots of change yourself in the last little while, have moved to, I think, San Diego. So how's that been so far? Because that's a big change. You were in Austin, I think, before, right?
I was. Yeah, lots of big changes. I've never been like, well, I have once before, but so I ended up quitting my job and
Mhm.
went full-time self-employed, which was super scary.
Yeah.
I've always felt like I needed a crutch of some sort, not a crutch, I don't like using that word. So it's sort of base that like it's a guaranteed income. And I
Yep.
always felt like I needed that safety net. That's a good word, safety net.
Yeah. Yeah.
And right before we decided to move, I just was like, fuck it. Let's just like I thought about it, and I always talked myself out of it. And then I was just like, I literally was sitting at my table and I was just like, dude, just fucking do it. And I just sent the email and I like stood up and I was like walking around my house. And then I think a week later, we came to San Diego. We were toying with the idea of moving here and we just got blown away with this like job offer for my boyfriend.
Yeah.
The guy also is kind of hooked up into the gym, so he was like, we can help you out here, blah blah blah. And we were like,
Why
let's just
not?
do it.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, let's just
Yeah.
do it. So yeah, we are packed, moved our entire lives from Austin to San Diego in like 3 weeks.
Yeah. Wow. In
It was,
3 weeks.
it was
Holy
awesome.
geez.
Yeah, it was
Wow.
awesome.
Well, very cool. And obviously, I know you've been there before and stuff, so I'm sure like the atmosphere of being there and all those things, has all that been pretty fantastic so far?
I love it. Everyone's gonna have their own opinions, and that's okay. But I
Sure.
love it here. I've always loved it here. I've always felt connected here. I've always felt like I fit in. I've always felt like just the vibe is just everything that I'm about. Like I just love it. I
Yeah.
can't explain it. Everyone's gonna feel different. I've talked to people here that are like, oh my God, we moved. My sister moved to Austin and she loves it there. And it's like, cool. I I didn't. So
Sure.
I love it
Sure.
here.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's cool, and that maybe those people who have followed kind of stuff that you've done over time and everything know that you do a lot of different things all the time. So you may have that kind of core job you're talking about, but you have a whole bunch of different things that are going on. But maybe just to those people who aren't familiar with you, can you talk a little bit about your journey to here? I mean, I know it's you've got lots of things going on and have over time, but just kind of capsulize what that's been like for you to get to where you are, being this kind of um, a personal trainer, but also, a fitness influencer. You also do you have your own apparel company, all those things. Just how's that kind of tracked for you?
do you want me to go along the athlete route or the like I'm assuming job route, like more of my job,
Yeah,
like
well, yeah, let's do that. And also, I mean, I mean, a lot of it is athletic based too, right? And how that connects in. So just,
yeah,
yeah,
it's man, it's such a long story. I don't even know. It's it started, I guess I've always struggled with a normal routine and who's to say what's normal, but I like ever since I was in school and out I struggled with the very normal, you get a job and then you go home and
yeah,
my brain does not thrive there, and that's okay, which I'm not again, this is such a touchy subject I think on social media right now is no one's bashing the 8 to 5. I am
yeah,
not I just want to
yeah,
go off and say that right now. I'm not bashing it. It
no,
doesn't work for me. It puts me like
yeah,
I shut down.
yeah,
So I started I was always really good in sports and did all that stuff. I went through a really hard time um growing up. I think, around my teens. I came kind of from like a broken home and a divorced parents, and I got sent off to an aunt and uncle and
mhm,
dropped off there, and they kind of helped me out, but I never felt like anyone wanted me. So I struggled with drugs and I never excelled the way that I probably could have.
yeah,
Um and so I clung to sports because it's kind of where I felt, a part of something and like the team aspect. And then so after that, I started working at gyms because I don't know, it felt like somewhere where I belonged.
yeah,
Um I'm not like the smartest like I'm just a very creative person, and I went from gym to gym. I moved back to Texas. I worked at another gym, and it just always was where I came to a point where it was like college or work, and I couldn't afford
yeah,
school,
yeah,
so I was forced into work. And the only thing I ever felt just truly fulfilled doing was coaching and being
yeah,
connecting with people. And I always struggled with like being social, and so coaching was my version of being social. And so
mm,
I just
yeah,
buried myself into it, and I buried myself into my clients and all that stuff. I worked for someone else till I was I wish my timeline was better. um I worked till I was like 22, 23,
mhm,
and I don't know, to be honest, I sold drugs for like 2 years.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah,
to make it, I did what I had to do, and I was
yeah,
selling drugs and I was going to raves and all this stuff. And I just remember sitting there on my floor one day, and I was just like, "What the fuck are you doing? Like, what are you doing?" And I had a bag of drugs next to me, and like I was about to go out, and I vividly remember this. I had my dog, and she was sitting there looking
yeah,
at me, and I was just like, I am going to end up in prison or fucking killed. And I threw it in the trash, and threw it in the toilet. I flushed it, and I was like, I've got to figure my shit out. And I kicked my roommate out. I figured it out. I went, and they were forcing me to pick school or work. And so I went and I told her, I was like, hey, I will work at this gym until I like bleed. And so I
yeah,
was there from till they opened. I was cleaning, I was coaching, I was doing front desk, I was washing towels, and I buried myself in working. And I my dream was to work for myself, and I knew that I was going to have enough money to support myself for a year if I didn't fully make enough income. So
yeah,
I coached until like I could not even see straight. I
yeah,
coached every class, I subbed. Again, like I said, I was doing everything. And then so I think Instagram, this is when Instagram kind of started getting cool, and I just started posting everything I was doing, and there was no algorithm. So
yeah,
I also want to remind people that are just starting out on social media, you're seeing all these influencers that started when Instagram did not have an algorithm. And I
yeah,
think it's really important to remind people that it's just not the same. And I see people will ask me all the time, well, how did you get so many followers? I'm like, I wouldn't have any followers if I hadn't started when Instagram started.
yeah,
It's hard to grow now than it was then. So I started doing it when like DLB and Rob Bailey, like they were like big inspirations for me. And I just worked. I know that's like a shitty mentality now, but I worked till I like could not see straight. I was
Yeah.
doing bodybuilding at the same time. And so that bodybuilding was what got me bigger on social media because oh my God, this girl has a 10-pack and Jesus, whatever. And
Yeah.
I got a lot of hate, but it got me bigger.
Yeah.
And I started remote coaching. My online coaching got really big, and I s- something happened, and I parted ways with that gym, and so I started renting space at another gym, and I got my people big enough to where I just decided I did it. I just opened my own gym.
Yeah. Yeah.
um, really bad financial decision. I had the choice of a 3,000 square foot and a 5,800. And I
Yeah.
was very young. I had no one helping me. I had no one like giving me advice. And I picked the
Yeah.
bigger one and I shouldn't have. So if anyone's ever thinking about opening a gym, start small until you absolutely have to grow. And
Yeah.
that is the biggest probably not regret, but if I could have changed any decision with me opening my own gym, it would have been that one. I got into CrossFit. I did the gym thing with no business experience. We were fairly successful. I never took out a loan. I did it all by myself,
Hmm.
and we did. I mean, it was great. It's just the connection that you get with your people when you own the gym is pretty phenomenal. Like you
Yeah.
really,
Yeah.
really connect with these people. And COVID happened, and I will blame COVID for the rest of my life. It kind of ruined everything I had going on, and it ruined my CrossFit career. It ruined my gym. I mean, I have to sit here and say everything happens for a reason, and it's why I'm where I'm at. Blah, blah, blah. But
Yeah.
I would do anything to have fixed my CrossFit career. But it got robbed from me with COVID, and I just
Yeah.
never went back to it. Um, you know, I feel like I've been doing the same thing, and I guess I haven't, but I guess I am. I just am just more mature. But I after COVID, I coached out of my garage, and then I started full
Yeah.
circle. I got picked up by another gym. I started working at a gym, and I stayed consistent on social media. I stayed consistent to who I am as a coach. You know, I never switched up what I believe in. I learned new things, but I've always pretty much stayed exactly who I am.
Yeah.
And I think that's, you'll never see me in like the matching sets, and I don't, I always look pretty raggedy
And
and
real. That's probably what people
and
also
I
connect
and
with,
I
though, too,
and
right?
I've just always, even when I wanted to be that way, like I did go through a stage where I was like, man, I need to look better on social media, and I need to wear cuter clothes, and I need to like and it just isn't me. And
Yeah.
so I've always stayed very true to that, and I'm very close with my clients. I've never had I think a lot of these bigger influencers, which good for them, they have so many clients that they probably don't even talk to them.
Yeah.
I literally talk to every single one of my clients on my phone, and I
Yeah.
will not take more than 30 at a time. And I have a very special connection with almost all of them. We have FaceTimes, we talk about their problems, anything that's going on with life. Um, and that's what fulfills me. I think if I did it any other way, I wouldn't even enjoy doing it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
um,
Oh,
I, go ahead.
you've went through a lot of stuff, and you obviously have a resilience level that's probably pretty high. Because, I mean, considering not only just stuff that happened in your background, but even just that about, you go through stuff at COVID, and there's a lot of stuff that happened there that affected you negatively, obviously, as well.
Well,
Where's that come from? I mean, have you become more resilient because of this stuff, or is it you were already resilient and it just brought it out in you? What's that for Taylor?
it sounds really bad, but there's again, I used to listen to DLB and Rob Bailey all the
Yeah.
time, and I also listened to a therapist called the Angry Therapist, and something that they both always say, and it sounds so bad, but it's so true. No one fucking cares. No one cares. No one cares about your problems. No one's coming to save you. No, like complaining and whining and poor, pitiful me, kick rocks. My daddy didn't love me. My mom left me. My this and that. I don't have a tolerance for it. And I don't have it. And I want my life to look a certain way. I don't care what anyone thinks. I want to live in San Diego. I always wanted to live on the beach. I want to live in nice weather. I will pay the extra money to live here. And I got here.
Yeah.
I I didn't care about anything except getting to what I needed to do to get my life the way that I wanted to look. I
Yeah.
don't I don't know. I'm very resilient in the sense of just like stuff doesn't really bother me. Like yeah, stuff sucks and sometimes I go through a hard time, and I went through a really hard time financially with I had a really bad year, and it was just like
Yeah.
I'm working so hard and I feel like I can't catch up. Taxes and everything else like kind of caught up with me, and I just had to remind myself like no one fucking cares. Like what? No one cares. Either you're gonna fix this and you're gonna figure it out, or you're gonna be stuck here. Like which one is it? And
Yeah.
time is not slowing down. So it just like I would wake up and it's already July, you know, whatever, and I'm just like figure it out. Like I don't know. I don't sit and wallow in anything. And
Yeah.
everyone has their shit. Everyone's going through something. Yours is not any worse than anyone else's, and no one cares. Either you're going to fix it or you're not. And I've
Yeah.
always had that mentality every day. I'm like, yeah, this kind of sucks, but like, also, I'm super grateful for this, this, and this. And look where I've come from. Look what I've overcome. I can handle this. And I would just,
Yeah.
I don't
Being
know.
able to recognize that at the same time. And well, okay. So you obviously have lots of goals. You have lots of things that you want to achieve, and you're good at being able to get there. Do you um do you write all those things down? Do you like
Oh,
how
God.
do you picture up like are you one of those people? Are you you know go by what comes? How does that work for you, and how does that translate maybe to how you also deal with your clients probably too? But you first, I guess.
Yeah, so my brother is really awesome. He's an entrepreneur as well, and he gave me the best advice one time. He was like, "What's your end goal?" And I always have my list of end goals, which they do change. You know,
Mhm.
every 6 months I'll do end goals or quarterly or whatever I'm feeling. And you work. So I have different goals with like different things. So I have a goal for my company TDL Fit. I have a company for the app I'm coming out with. I have a goal for my podcast I'm coming out
Mhm.
with, and for my apparel company. And then I'll take each one and I'll work backwards. So
Yeah.
I work like, so here's my end goal. Here's where I'm at currently. And I started my end goal and I work backwards. And then there's my train of like things. So, like, what are things I need to purchase? You know, whatever are my big purchases, my small purchases, blah, blah, blah. And I also, you have to make priorities of whatever that is. So, like, it's not good to have as many things going on as I do, and I'm trying to eliminate because you never get to go all in on one thing, and that is my problem. Because
Yeah.
I think maybe anyone that's creative is going to tell you that our brains are like, ooh, this, and I could do this. And my boyfriend, he like has to sit me down and he like talks to me like a child. He's like, okay, but what's important right now? Is it the new design that you want to come out with Rebel, or is it finishing your app? And I'm like, finishing my app. And he's like, okay. So we're going to finish the app. And then after you work on that for 3 days, you can go back to Rebel and you can design. Like, I have to have a written out what I'm doing daily and like the priority and the goal and when I need to finish. And it's everything's written out for me. Like, I have like three different books of lists, and I have post-it notes and to-do lists. I
Yeah.
have to-do lists quarterly. I have to-do lists today. I have to-do lists this week.
And
So
how do you, because obviously you've got a bunch of different things and you have things in your life and everything else you have to fit in there as well. Um, you know, almost always something takes priority over other parts of it
yes.
at any one time. How do you decide what to flex to and and still have a life and some kind of balance? Because there might be something entrepreneurs, there's lots of entrepreneurs who listen to this and would think, okay, there's times where if I'm building something, I spend a lot of my time, like 85% of my other time doing that. And what probably falls down sometimes is maybe my social stuff, maybe some of those other things.
Right.
How do you flex that and still make sure that you flex back from time to time?
Yeah, that's a great question. I struggle with it daily. It's really choosing your priorities, and it's keeping you on your priority of like, okay, so like my app, I need like 3 more programs and it is done and it is launched. If I keep ping ponging around it, it's never going to finish. So like you have to be okay with putting stuff on the side burner, like my apparel company. I know for a fact that'll never be my main income ever.
Yep.
And
Yep.
I don't want it to be. I'm okay with that. I used to think that it did. And I just realized I'm not willing to do what it takes. And I don't want to go all in with apparel. So I had to, like, me and my boyfriend, he's so good at like reeling me in. He's like, you need to be okay with only making this much to this much a month off of Rebel.
Yep.
And that needs to be okay. That's your side hustle. You know, you do it for fun. You do it because you love it. It's a creative outlet and it needs to be that. Because I used to
Yep.
beat myself up about it. Like, oh my God, I don't spend enough time. It's never going to be good enough. It's not this. I'm not good enough. It's a waste of my time if I'm not putting all my time. And you have to just, it's just knowing yourself and knowing, you know, what's going to make you the most money and then what's a side hustle. And maybe once I get all this other stuff going and I can put more time into Rebel, but right now Rebel is my side hustle and it's going to
Hmm.
stay there.
Yep.
So my remote clients and my app come first always. And again, it's, you have to be so strict with your time. So I wake up at 6:15. I make us coffee. I train my boyfriend. He lets me PT him. So we do a PT session in the morning. I train him while he's getting ready. I'm making my to-do list of what to do today. And it's just, you got to stay like on what you're doing. There's
Yeah.
just no way other than to do that. And I have days that I dedicate to one thing. Other people may do a little bit of everything a day. I don't. So I dedicate 2 full days to remote coaching. I dedicate 2 full days to my app. And then
Mm.
I dedicate 1 full day. So my brain can stay on that subject. And
Yep.
that's how my brain works.
Yeah.
I can't go from programming a running program and a strength program and then
Right.
go design a
Jumping
t-shirt.
over.
My
Yeah.
brain doesn't, yeah, I'm already in it, so I got to stay in it. And you just got to
Yeah.
learn those things about yourself. And I think creatives and entrepreneurs and we beat up ourselves because we just think nothing that we're doing is good. And sometimes this mentality that's going on through social media is like hustle till you die, don't
Yeah.
sleep, blah. And it's just like you're not doing yourself a favor. Like I had to learn that is you not sleeping for 3 days, you're not a hero.
Yep.
You're not
You're
doing
probably not as productive as you think you are either.
correct. You're just getting frustrated. You feel like shit. Like I have to take Sundays where I just unplug from everything and
Yeah.
I just we went to the beach, I read my book, you know, we ate pizza and I did not think about work and it makes me feel better. Like you have to have those days. And I think
Yeah.
some people are like I've been working for 14 days straight. It's like
Yeah.
okay, good.
You know what? That makes me think of too. If you've because you've got clients, I'm sure that have real variance and see you and think, okay, I want to be, like this, or I want her to be able to help me get to this goal. Um, how do you kind of right size what people think from that perspective? Because I think sometimes it's once you start to break down what you have to do to get to that goal, it may be different than what you originally thought because it might be I think I can do this, and can you really if you also want to be able to do this in your life and this in your life, like it is an important thing to really think through that probably before you go into it with you. Like, is that something that is like, do you kind of have to go through that with your clients?
You nailed it. So that is one of the biggest things I think I can say I'm great as a coach. I don't just take people's money. And I said this on the last podcast I did. We have a very hard conversation to where and I've said this from day one. Give me your goals and then I want you to write out what do you want and what are you willing to do? Because those things are very different. I want to be a competitive CrossFitter. That is if I could do anything, I would compete in CrossFit until the day I die. I fucking love it. I love being on a team. But the fact is, I am not willing to do what it takes to do that. So why even, there's just no point. Like I work out and I have to be okay with a little amount of time that I work out a day because my other goals are just more for me. I want to eat pizza and I love drinking once a week, and I love, we make margaritas at home and then we have burgers. And it's just like, these are things you can't do with certain goals. And I have people come to me all the time sending me pictures of these fucking Instagram influencers that,
Yeah.
and their tiny waist and huge ass and perfect legs and built shoulders. I'm like, are you willing to dedicate 5 to 7 years of your life to me? And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, you have no idea what it takes to even gain 5 pounds of muscle.
Yeah.
Like, it's a full-time job. Do you want to meal prep? Well, I mean, not really. I don't want to count macros,
Yeah.
but like, I can work out like 4 times a week. I'm like, then you need to be okay with just feeling good and looking a little better.
Yeah.
And some people respond to it and say okay, and some people just think I'm full of crap. So
Yeah.
it's a conversation I have with every single person. They'll come to me and show me a bikini competitor or figure or DLB, and I'm like, Dana Lynn Bailey works out probably 3 hours a day, and this is her full-time job.
Yeah. Yeah.
For years. She's done it for, Jesus Christ, I don't even know. I think she's probably on like year 20. Like, it's just not what people think.
Right.
And I
Right.
and I think I don't know why people don't talk about it. I guess
No, and
maybe
it and
to sell programs, but
yeah,
it's just like,
I'm
it
sure it's
is.
worse now too because of social media and people thinking that it's just this easily attainable thing.
Yeah, this
And
6 week grow an ass in six
yeah,
weeks. It's like,
yeah,
but
I'm
it also just goes back to like, if you've never worked out before or worked with a trainer, you're probably not even doing what's in the programming correctly and in a way to even build the muscle that you're trying to build. Like, are you even doing it correctly? Are you engaging correctly? Are you eating enough like, it's so much, and I wish people would just be okay with, like, I don't know. I don't know what I'm trying to say. Just be okay with like where you're at, and with your 4 times a week of working out, and your, like, whatever you're willing to do, be okay with that.
yeah, yeah. Now, I would assume that's a big appeal from a lot of the people that do have kind of ongoing personal training relationships with you and stuff would be that not only do you have that conversation and you're upfront with them, but um, one of the things that you've talked about is how you have a real connection with all of them. And one, I know you'd probably hate the word that people think you're an influencer or whatever, but you do have a big following and a community, and maybe that's more the way to talk about it is there are lots of people out there, and it isn't just in your space, in lots of spaces where they probably look to you that you've built a strong brand, and you also have a way of being able to kind of connect to your community. Do you do that you know in a specific way? Like, do you have strategies around how you do that, or is it just something that because you have that way of being able to connect with people, that almost creates itself over time? Like, what is that like for you? Do you have a lot of brand strategies that you use for yourself and that end? I mean, it'd be different with your apparel, I'm sure, but just what's that like for you?
So with my are you just more talking about like fitness brand and like
Yeah, yeah,
Instagram and
yeah,
promoting it? Yeah, I honestly, I used to, I used to watch Instagram and get really down on myself of like, my videos don't look good enough, and I'm not
mm,
using big enough words, and I'm not this and I'm not that, and I took a hiatus from social media, I think like 6 months ago, and I took like a month off.
yeah,
And I think it's important for coaches to do it and reflect of, who the fuck are you? Like, who are you? What kind of coach are you? And what do you want to be to anyone that's looking for you for help? And I constantly have to sit with myself before I'm posting and just be like, don't be influenced by like a post I saw last week, or like this girl that has millions of followers, how she talks to her people. Like, I have to constantly remind myself of just like, how would I talk to someone that's I'm in person? Like, how I, and like, you have to stay confident in what you have to offer, because there's so many coaches online. Like, wow,
yeah,
just stay exactly who you are. Am I the smartest, best, most amazing coach ever? If you ask Trey, he'll tell you that I am, and it's
Well, that's
amazing.
good.
But I know, but
Smart guy.
um, no, like there is always going to be a coach that's better than the coach you're looking at, but like what can you offer? And I don't know. I always just try to stay of just like authentic, and I like to talk to people not like they have PhDs, but like a way that they can understand. Because anytime I've talked to a client and I'm trying to help them, if I try to talk to them in just, trainer terms, they're just look at me. But like I want to try to communicate with how can you understand? How
Yeah,
is this going to help you long term? How is this going to just like very like the longevity of you staying committed to fitness? How can I help you do that?
yeah,
It's Do they need to be critiqued on how they do a tricep extension? Probably not. Do they need help with a routine because they have 3 kids and their knee hurts and
mm,
they can't get enough protein? Probably. So
yeah,
I try to appeal to the people that are just trying to feel good. Now, my buddy, he can do bodybuilding and that's his lane and he can do that. He can do all of it, but I don't do bodybuilders. And I know
yeah,
that.
yeah,
Did I do bodybuilding for 4 years? Do I know a lot? It's not my thing. So I stay in my lane and I talk to people like they're humans and I try to say exactly who I am. And I also remind everyone that I also take a month off of fitness and I don't look awesome and I feel fat and gross and it's just normal. Like it's just, I don't know. I try to just fitness
connect with
doesn't
what,
have to
yeah,
be
what,
so complicated.
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I think that's a great way to look at it. It doesn't have to be so complicated. And um, maybe that's one thing too, that, when you go into this, because that's obviously, the training stuff really well because you also have been on both sides of it, I guess, at different times of your career. Um, Entrepreneurship was probably something, well, you've even said it's a learning experience as you go and everything too. Was there something that stood out as, wow, that was really not what I expected? Like, to those people listening who think you can kind of just jump right in, and it's not to say not to jump right in, but I'm sure, were tons of learnings. And is there something that right away to you was, wow, that was way harder than I thought it was going to be?
Screen printing.
Yeah, really?
No,
Yeah, okay.
I started screen printing and it
Yeah,
was so much harder than I thought. But
yeah,
it's entrepreneurship. Everything's hard. It's just
yeah,
hard. Like it's hard to stay geared towards one thing. It's hard to find a schedule. It's hard to not get overwhelmed with the scheduling of working from 6 to 6 and
mhm,
it's just not necessary. And um I don't know. I think your everyone's path of being a business owner is going to look very different. And I think educating yourself on the business aspect is what I didn't do and that I wish I would have done sooner, as in find a really good CPA,
yeah,
find a good one and talk to them. Find
yeah,
a financial advisor. Even if you feel like you don't have enough money to have a financial advisor, go talk to one and just find a really good one that maybe from word of mouth and just sit down and say, how much money do I need to come to you? And then what can we do with my finances?
yeah,
You need to find a good tax person and your LLCs and your DBAs. And these are all so important for like the long term. It doesn't feel like it is because you just feel like it's weird when you start because like you're just collecting like random Venmos
yeah,
and like $100 here, 160 here, 200 here. Then you're collecting money on the side from ebooks, and then you're training your people out of the garage, and they're giving you cash and Venmos, and like it, it just doesn't feel like it's a lot. And then at the end of the year, you're like, "Fuck, I don't know what to do all this," and like you don't know how to do your taxes, and then it gets weird, and then you don't claim everything, but then you try to go buy a house and they tell you you're broke. And it's just like stuff that I didn't know and that I wish I would have done sooner is that stuff.
yeah,
The
yeah,
branding and stuff comes organically. You just
sure.
you just got to roll with it. And you find your niche and stay in your lane and have your true personality online. But the business stuff,
Yeah.
educate yourself on that. That
Yeah.
is, I could probably be 3 years ahead if I would have started that sooner.
Yeah.
Like Ross, all the IRAs having this and the different types and the this and that. I bought a house and did the Airbnb thing, and I wish I would have educated myself on that. There's just a lot that I don't know, that the
Yeah.
business stuff.
Yeah. I think most people, I mean, because it's the less familiar stuff that is the things that people kind of push to the side for a little bit and think that it's not as important, I guess, until suddenly it's important. And then you have to learn on the fly at a time where, yeah, you're right. If you had done some of that stuff at the front end, it just makes it way
Well, it's
easier
even
later on, right?
organizing as trainers, like I was saying, you're getting money from all these different places. It's organizing your money. Like
Yeah.
that was so like I remember showing my first CPA all of my bank statement stuff, and he was like, "Oh my God. Like, what are you doing?" Like, I was getting money from like Rebel and then Shopify and PayPal and Venmo and Zelle and this and that. And he was like, "This is a nightmare." And I was like, "Yeah, I don't," and I'm such an organized person, but that stuff, it sounds complicated, but it's not. If you sit down with someone that's going to just show you and be like, "Hey, we can get your LLC and then we're going to DBA everything. And then your money for each thing is going to go into those DBA accounts. And
Yeah.
then it all at the end of the year." And that is what I wish I would have done
Yeah.
sooner.
Yeah.
And
There's
everyone,
so
like
many
you
people
said,
that,
everyone thinks like it's not a big deal. I'll do it later.
yeah.
Just do it now.
And doing it
Get a,
later is way harder.
get a,
So,
get a business credit. Just buck up the money, get an LLC done, get your business account, get a business credit card, start getting credit towards your business, and get your DBAs if you have more than one business, and just what you and your tax person just make a plan.
yeah.
That would be the best thing that you could do.
Yeah, cool. Good advice. Good advice. Um, so so one of the things that we do with every guest, Taylor, is try to take away a couple of, and I would say even just that conversation right there, I'm sure tons of people took lots away from that. But the one thing I thought is that you've obviously been very good at tackling new challenges, and I'm sure that you were kind of worried to do it, and even just your move you were talking about is one of those things you decided, you know what, I'm just going to go all in on my own business. um, there are lots of people who'd be listening thinking, okay, I want to do that, but I'm super scared to do it. Do you have any thoughts or any tips on, how do you make those types of how do you make a move like that and get yourself feeling a little more comfortable, or at least be able to do it and be a little braver to do it, I guess.
Yeah. I wish I would have done this sooner as well. But so, I said that I don't have a tolerance for like whining and stuff, but I also don't have a tolerance for people that say I want to do it, but I can't afford it.
Mm,
And to an extent, I get it. But are you doing everything in your power to have enough money to go out on your own? Like, I went through a phase where I didn't buy shit. I didn't go
yeah,
out for coffee. I didn't
yeah,
go out to Whole Foods. I got the minimal groceries and I got the shittiest brand. Hill Country Fare. Like, I was eating noodles and shitty meat, and it just do what it takes. Like, if you really want it, and that's what it's like, do you not really want it, or do you want it? And if you want it, you're not going to go out and have beer with your friends. They're like, "Well, being social is super important." You can give up going out for a year, whatever it's going to
yeah,
be. You're not going to be robbed of anything. You're not missing out on anything. You could still go and just not drink whatever, but it just, you I get when people are like, I can't do that because I can't afford it. It's like, I get that because you do have bills, but it's the difference of like, do you want a side hobby, or do you really want to quit your job and pursue this? Because if you really want to quit your job and pursue this, I had a really nice badass truck, like lifted. It was so sick. It was awesome. And it was everything I ever wanted in a truck. And I was like, does this make sense for me financially? No. It was like an $800 car payment, this and that and that. I trade in for a piece of shit little SUV that I literally still have outside. My car payments, it's almost paid off.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't care how that looks. It's financially, I don't care about driving a super badass car.
Yeah.
It's just, it's stuff like that. Like, you have to have the nicest things. You need to go shopping for clothes. The makeup that you buy. Like, if you could just buckle down for a year and save everything, you can probably do anything you want. And again, like I'm saying, if you really want it bad enough and you live alone, get a roommate.
Yeah.
There is just so many things that people aren't willing to do for the dream. And it's like, then you'll never have that dream. And I did a lot of stuff that I am not very proud of. And I had roommates and I had people sleeping on my couch, and I did it so I could be sitting in San Diego right now. That's what I did. I'm 36. It took me a really long, not super long, but it took me a while. But I made a lot of sacrifices.
Yeah.
And I worked a lot, and I did everything that I could to be here. And so you have to earn it. You can't just bitch about it and then go out with your friends all weekend.
Yeah.
Like, save the money, make a plan, and execute it. It may be a 2-year plan, but the thing is that 2 years is going to happen regardless. So are you going to do what it takes to get to your goal in 2 years, or are you just going to whine about it for 2 years and not save any money and be in the same spot that you were in 2 years?
Yeah.
So
And 2 years isn't that long. I know it sounds like it to a lot of people, but it
exactly.
goes pretty damn fast with you,
It
especially if
goes
you don't do anything.
it goes so fast, and in 2 years you could be able to quit your job, or you could be in the same spot with the job that you hate, nowhere closer to your dream. It's just decisions. It's literally decisions that you make every single day that's going to dictate where you are.
Yeah.
Everyone has the capability to do it, and people get so mad when I say that, and I'm like, it's choice. Everyone has choices that you make every day that dictate where you are in 2 years. What choice are you going to make?
Yeah.
And
Well,
you have to be selfish.
yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes you have to be
Absolutely.
really selfish. A lot
Yeah.
of this whole people pleasing thing is like everyone's saying sorry and people pleasing. It's like, fuck that. That person does not care about you. And they may say they care about you, but in 5 years, that person doesn't matter. Anyone that I was talking to 5 years ago, I am not talking to today.
Yeah. Yeah. And you've changed a lot in that amount of time.
Yes.
Very cool. Well, so I'm sure, I mean, people, if they've listened and if they didn't kind of have any connection with you before, are probably pretty compelled to follow some of your stuff to be able to find out more and maybe even kind of connect with you in personal training and things like that. What are the best ways for people to follow what's happening with you, Taylor, and maybe even kind of connect on whether they want to do some personal training and look at what your offerings are?
My social media is TDL_does_life. That is basically my hub. You can click on the link tree and it's going to take you everywhere else. I have a podcast launching in August,
Yeah,
the Caffeine and Mood Swings. And I have an app also launching in August, I hope. And then everywhere else, the apparel and online coaching and stuff, you can find at my social media.
awesome. And what we'll do is we'll put the link in all the show notes too, so people can go through there. And having that link tree makes it super easy for anybody. So if you do go
Yeah.
through there, check out all those other things that you're connected with as well. There's some pretty cool stuff there. But again, I know you just moved, so I'm sure you still have boxes everywhere and all those things. So thank you very much for taking the time
Yeah.
with
No
us, Taylor.
problem. No
Awesome.
problem.
Very cool. Well, and to everybody else, if you haven't hit subscribe on the podcast, do that now. We have great people every week, just like Taylor. And again, thanks for listening, and we will talk again soon on Big Idea, Big Moves.
Thank you.
Thanks, Taylor.
Bye.